Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Buck Up Podcast. I'm Renee Nicole,
And I'm Lillian.
and it's just the two of us today. But we're excited to hop into this conversation. It's always a good one, and it's always a blessing. But before we get started, as always, Lillian, tell us, what was your Buck Up moment this week?
So, my butt God moment this week was, for a while now, I have been working very, very hard on my finances. Paid off 11 credit cards. I've been working on getting my credit fixed and everything. I have this little mantra thing that I like to practice, that I put Renee onto.
Yes.
And so I've been doing all of this work, being very intentional and focused. And like for the month of November, in my mantra, the meditation that I do, it's just been really focusing on, I want to raise my credit score. I want to get in and not for nothing, my credit score was extremely low. When I first started, like in January, it was like early fives, like 514. It was terrible because I hadn't worked for some time and furloughed and stuff just happened here. And so for the month of November, I was saying, I really want to raise my credit score. So I would do this meditation, and that girl makes you focus on how you're going to feel when you receive the thing that you want. So I would just feel so excited and just so joyful and so happy, and just like see the number of what I want. I'm in the 600 club celebrating that. And then last week, no, it was November. Yeah, like last week before I went to my celebrate my son's birthday, I just checked my credit score and it was like 625. I like dropped my phone. I jumped up. I was like,
Yes.
it works. It worked. God, like diligently paying my bills on time, paying off things, being responsible. And then, having that happen, I was like, thank you so much, God. Because in that meditation, she makes you, feel the feeling and then praise God, like be grateful, show gratitude. So now we're moving on to the 700 club.
Yes, it's only up from here. Okay, it's just climbing, climbing,
Yeah.
climbing. God is good. That's good.
So
I
what
feel
was
like
your buck up?
I have a money one too. Not yeah, because I was, sitting at work one day and at home in my little corner, and was like, man, I need to find some more income. I need more income coming in than just this one source. And so I was thinking about, doing other jobs or whatever. And I was just like, you already don't have time to do the things that you need to do.
Right.
And so I got back into the thought process of something I've been wanting to do and putting off for the past year, and Name a Better Duo. I had a financial series.
Yeah.
And I had a friend, Kareem, who was one of the guys that I had on twice actually to talk about money. And one of the interviews, he talked about stock options, something that I've read up on and I've learned about, but not to the extent that I felt comfortable diving into. But I'm like, now or never, like people
Right.
are out here making money while sitting at work, while sleeping,
While sleeping.
And so I, hit him up. I just decided I was going to get started. I put aside some funds, and that's what they say, pay you first.
Yes.
Okay. Before you go paying other things or before you go buying other things that you don't need. So I put this money aside and I hit him up and he's like, oh, I'm gonna teach you. And so, yeah, he's been like really, really like just such a blessing to like kind of, it's still foreign language to me. Okay. Even with what he's taught me thus far. And he sent me some materials to like study. And I was texting him last night because yesterday he's like, are you studying? Because I said I'm gonna spend the weekend studying. And I'm like, I am, but this is so boring. I'm like, this is why I hate school. I was like, I'm getting sidetracked and I have to keep rewinding because my focus is off. But I'm like, I'm determined. And so I'm just excited about we can get so caught up on the hamster's wheel and just thinking that life has to be a certain way. And we can create the future that we want to. And I love like what you said with you taking, this time to learn and to build your credit. Like we can create the lives we want to if we take the initiative. It only takes a little bit. Like I started with $50, and someone else might want to start with 25 or 50,
Yeah.
like just get started. And it's scary and everyone doesn't have a Kareem that they can reach out to, but Honestly, I was shocked because even before I reached out to him, I was on YouTube and there was like really basic stuff that was like telling me what are calls and what are puts and, just breaking it down. So I encourage you, even if it's just to like get started with stocks or get started with, crypto or whatever you may feel comfortable, just like taking one thing to educate yourself on just a little bit day
A
by
little bit at a
day,
time.
and you'll get more comfortable and create. For me, I haven't made any money yet. I was telling Lillian, I've actually lost money. I lost most of that $50, maybe like $30 of it, but it still feels good that I'm doing it, and that's why I
Yeah.
started with something that I didn't really mind losing, because I was just like, okay, let's just do it. And a lot of people will start with paper trading, which I told him, now that I lost that money, I'm going to do that for a little bit until, I get paid again. Paper trading is more like practice where you're not using real money.
Okay.
So I'm going to start trying that as well. And that's something that I suggest too, if you don't want to just throw your money out there yet. So, yeah.
That's like what they say, you can't get in the game if you don't put any skin in it.
Exactly. And that's why I threw money in, because I'm like, paper trading, I'm not going to feel I need some
Right.
pressure, like, and so that's why I did that. But
It'll happen. It'll
there's
start like,
resources out there. I just want us to think
yes.
bigger than the salaries that these companies are giving us, bigger than the side jobs and the little side hustles that you find on Google. Like, there's so much more money out there.
There's
Let's
money to
get
be
to it.
made. There's money to be made and money to be had. And, you
Yeah.
know, you just have to, it's so different how our minds have kind of shifted. Like, I don't think years ago I never want to work two jobs.
Right.
Now I'm just like, I can work 3 or 4 jobs,
Mhm.
from being home or like, doing Lyft. I was doing Lyft. I did, what's that other thing called? Instacart, I have the Amazon thing, just there's different ways that we can
Amazon
hustle and
is
make
another.
money,
Yeah.
and now I'm really interested in real estate, just wanting to create some kind of real estate, like even with our journals and stuff, just knowing like, oh, we have a check coming in. Oh, that's very nice. Royalty check. Oh, wow, that's nice. Um, it's not the millions yet, but no one starts off making a million. No one puts that first quarter in and hits that jackpot. They usually probably lose a good $50 or so before they might
Mm-hmm.
make something, or sometimes they walk out with nothing.
Right.
So I'm proud of you for putting it into it, and you're going to teach me.
Yeah. Once I figure out what I'm doing, I got you.
And, we just have to keep teaching ourselves new things. When we teach ourselves, this is what God wants for us. God wants us to be in that place,
Mm-hmm.
and it may be a little hard. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm learning something new, so I'm learning how to speak Spanish because I don't speak fluent Spanish. And it's tricky
Mm-hmm.
to learn the language. I can read it, and like I was telling my professor today, I was trying to say the word for government in Spanish, and it's gubernero or something like that. And I am in my brain, when I'm looking at the word, I am trying to pronounce it in the English way of the I and the E.
Mm.
Their I and E doesn't sound like our I and E. And so that's why, so she would like, go slow, and so it's just a reminder that, I may not have it yet, but I have it more than I did last year,
Yeah.
or 2 weeks ago. I'm starting to establish the comfortability to have conversations with people in Spanish. And the same thing with money. Like, I never would have thought that I would be in this place ever. Like, I look at my journals and I'm like, yeah. But now just putting in that work, you put in the work, and it's one thing to write the vision, to write it. So you got to make the plan on stepping in through it, and you want home ownership, you want other resources of income. You don't want to have to show up to work and that just be where you get your check in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have other things coming in. And I want that too, and so God is like, here's how you have that.
Right.
And he sends you the people. Look, you have Kareem. We all have the University of Google, you know,
Okay.
TikTok. You learn a lot of things on TikTok. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of people in the finance area and TikTok talking stuff as well. I actually talked with someone about my situation with the credit cards and stuff, and we had a little one-on-one. Um, I think what you'll find out is more people are more willing to help than not help.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's our own perceptions and our own minds
Oh
to
yeah,
keep us
I
back.
hate asking for help because I'm like,
Right.
oh, I'm gonna be a burden, or
And they just love it because people want to feel like if it makes someone feel like
they have something to offer.
they have something to offer, but it's also like they're helping you and people want to help other people.
Yeah, they really do more than you
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
So
Mhm.
kudos. I can't wait. Got to give me some information.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is great, great, great news for both of us. But the news hasn't been so great and so light and fluffy, and we are going to dive a little bit into the topic of our justice system and some of the unfortunate situations we've, you know, learned about of late, with the not guilty charges of Kyle Rittenhouse. And then we have right now the trial is still going on, I believe,
Yeah.
for Ahmaud Arbery, and how he was unjustly gunned down and killed. I don't like even saying that word. I feel like no one can justify, gunning someone down and killing them, especially when you're just minding your business in the neighborhood. But yeah, it's been a really, really, I don't even want to say it's been a hard time. It's been a hard time forever for Black people specifically in this country. And it's really, really, for me, it's something that's really made me feel like, man, like, do I have this conversation. Do I want to bring kids into this world? My kids will be Black, and especially a Black boy, you know. It really makes you feel like, I don't know. I don't know, because I know how this world, this country specifically looks at us, and as if you're not a life, you're not human in a way. That's what our justice system has said to me, that Black lives are not equal to white lives, that they aren't human, and that they do not deserve the same amount of respect, as a white life. And it's really, really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because it's been going on for a long time, but now we have social media, and now we have people who are taping these situations, and we're seeing it up front and personally. And I really, really feel bad for the young people who are being raised during this time and seeing this, done to people that look like them. How do you not live in fear, and how, as a parent, as a teacher, as a mentor, do you prepare children, on how to behave when you're stopped by the cops, or how to behave when you're in an all white neighborhood, or, like, you have to carry yourself differently. You have to do things completely different. I was watching an interview I'm always talking about, but I love watching Kevin Hart's interviews, and he was talking about um how you have to be the best, like you can't, I think he was saying Chris Rock has a joke about how, like, he's like Chris Rock's one of the greatest comedians of our time, and he lives with like he lives next to a dentist, like another, a Black, you don't see that, it's like he has to be the best to live in the neighborhood where he lives, where he can just, this guy can just, clean your teeth. So not that that's not an amazing profession. It takes a lot of education, but yeah, as a Black man, especially, you really, really have to watch your back. You have to be careful, and you have to train your kids on how to behave, on how to talk, and and it's not fair, where a young 17-year-old white boy can walk down the street with a rifle and take someone's life and come out scot clean as if he was in the right, and it's disheartening, and it's reality. And because of that, it has to be spoken about. It has to be spoken has to be fought against,
Yeah.
whether it be through
Mhm.
our political leaders, whether it be through us, writing to them or whatever, protesting, whatever. Um, but it's just, we can't sit back and watch anymore.
No, we have to speak up, and we have to, and I think that's the one thing I love about this young generation coming up. They are more about speaking up and speaking out.
Mm-hmm.
They are not about being quiet and letting things happen. They are very vocal. I talk about it all the time. They are very vocal about their emotions and sharing about the things that bother them, whether they are injustices in regards to law or just injustices in regards to their personal like law, their personal values that they have, um, standards that they have for their life, boundaries that they don't feel should be crossed, or so I feel like this group, this generation is really going to change. It's not going to. I don't know if we'll be able to be around to see it, because the problem is there's still a very um, uh, strong white present, old white um, racist mentality in the high ranking seats in this country. And so but I pray and I believe that no man is exempt from God's
That's,
power.
and that's the only thing, because you wonder, when will we see change, because this is a 17-year-old boy who
We're
has the
seeing little
same
cracks,
mentality. So it's like,
right?
I don't think any generation that's alive now is going to see that change, unfortunately. But like you said, the only place we're gonna see it is in heaven.
It's going to be a while, and it is very sad. It's really hard for me though, because I am of mixed race,
Mhm.
and I grew up in an all white Italian neighborhood that most people know as a very prejudiced neighborhood in Brooklyn. It was where Yusuf Hawkins was killed in 1988 or 89 by a group of white teenagers because he fit the description of someone that was dating a white girl from the neighborhood. So, like I say it all the time, I lived jungle fever. I lived do the right thing. That was that Goodfellas. That was the way I was raised. That
Mhm.
is what I saw, especially jungle fever, especially do the right thing. Like Spike Lee. Now, Spike Lee knows that because Spike Lee also went to my high school.
Oh,
He
really?
had to come in from Bed-Stuy to Bensonhurst, Gravesend area. So he knows what he had to go through to come into that neighborhood.
Mm.
And he saw what was around, he was very, very point on with,
Mm.
his account of that area.
Yeah.
And so it took me a while, because I was raised in that area. And then I started going to high school and started meeting different people, like, oh, more people like look like me. And, so it really made me feel, so I get upset that people just don't feel bad for people, in circles that I am friends that I grew up with who, are white, and they're racist, but they don't want to believe that they're racist.
Mm. Yeah.
Because you can say that I don't count as one of those people. Those people? What are those people?
Mhm.
I'm Puerto Rican. Like, oh, but you're not one of those Puerto Ricans. What is
Mhm.
those Puerto Ricans? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay for, you to be, and this is one of the things that in my neighborhood happened a lot. Like, it's okay for you to be friends with someone that was Black. But if your sister dated, that was a problem.
Yeah.
So, it's really hard for me to not get angry. And I do get very angry because even in my own family, sometimes things are said that I'm like, how can you not just look at people as people? Why
Right.
do we have to look at, like, try to be like understanding of the person? It's not right for someone to treat anyone like this, period. And that's where you should be like, it's a problem. It's a problem, because but because that person is Black, it's not a problem. Like it's acceptable. But if it happened to Joey from down the street, it's a problem.
Right. Right.
If it happened to Jaquan from down the street, it's not a problem.
Yeah, because
Why?
he's not human.
Right. So that's the thing, the whole lack of humanness,
Yeah.
that you can't see that they are human.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that bothers me, and everything is like, what's right is right, period. What's right is right, like it's great that thank God the George Floyd case, he got what he deserved more than what he got. But anyway, he got served justice. Like, but there are so many cases where that has not happened. And I think the only reason why, and I don't know, maybe do I think, I don't know. There were so many witnesses. There were so many cameras,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're seeing now, and I would think that people of the white community would try to see it from the other side.
Yeah.
Just try to see it from the other side. So we know in the Black and brown community, these things happen. So now we have cameras that are showing all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So now, do you not see it? Like, do you not see that this is a problem?
It's
I don't know.
seen and it's noted, but it's like this is something that
It doesn't affect me, I think they think.
doesn't affect them, and that they've known and have kept hush hush for so long, and now due to technology they can't. It's really, really, when you think about it, how ridiculous it is for me to say, oh, because of the way you look, I don't value you. Like it really, really is ridiculous when you like really think about it. But
Yes.
the way our country was built off of that. Our country was built off of that foundation that you are beneath me, and therefore, don't you don't have value.
It just so disturbs me because it's like, who gives you the right to say that I am beneath you? What makes you think you can say that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it bothers me to, like, I pray and I ask God, like, when is enough already?
Right.
Like, when is it gonna stop?
Yeah.
When are we gonna start to see? And we are, but you know what? We're starting to see it. We have a long way to go, but from where our history comes from, what
Yeah,
everything
we're
that
not
Martin Luther
being
King did, and
we're not slaves anymore, but
no,
we
but
are
we're
in
not slaves in different ways.
different ways.
Like
Yeah.
we are slaves in different ways, and it's just, there's hatred amongst, and there's prejudice, and there's racist within the races.
Mm-hmm.
This we know,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's
And
just really,
that was created. Even that was created.
yeah,
Like the division amongst Black people, the division amongst different Latino groups.
yeah,
Like all of that was very intentional to create this. This monster. Because that's what it's created. It's created. And a group of people who are tainted by their traumatic experiences. And I think that that's the reason why,
mm,
we see so much crime in the Black and brown communities, because of our traumatic experiences that lead to a life of crime. And unfortunately, that's the image that is painted of us, is that, oh, they're killing each other. Oh, but where does
right,
that stem from? Like where does that stem from? You're looking at a group of people who are living in poverty. Where you're seeing this type of activity is in the projects, where people are living with rats and roaches and are fighting to eat each day and keep the lights on. You put a group of white people in those circumstances and
but
see
they
how much of
are,
them don't like.
but the problem is that, hello, trailer parks, they're the equivalent of projects. Equivalent. I mean, anybody watch Tiger King? Like, where do those people come from? You know what I'm saying? Like, just, but the more norm of the stereotype is the Black and brown community in the projects, and this is what it is. The drugs, but I was watching, I guilty pleasure, watching Power. It's one of my favorite shows on Stars. And so Ghost 2, part 2 came out with his son. And so he was talking with a senator in this scene. And he's the young, what's his name? Tariq. Tariq is a young black man. And the senator is an older white gentleman. And he's like, oh, he's in Stansfield. That's the college he attends in New York, Connecticut or wherever. And he's like, oh, it's great to see that Stansfield is making accommodations for allowing people like you to come into our, college and blah, blah, blah. And the white kid, it's his friend, Tariq's friend, says he's like in the top of his class. Like he's in the most rigorous class scheduling, and he goes on and the guy was like,
the only way he's gonna get in as a black.
He's like, oh, so then he says, oh, well, it's nice. He goes, yeah, well, I didn't get in because of my skin color. Mm-hmm. He says something like that. And then he says, oh, my dad, I have a trust, I pay for my education. My father pays for my education. Oh, who's your father? And he tells him, whatever, Ghost, whatever his real name was. I can't remember right now. And he's like, oh, I met your dad. He's a really good guy. Sorry to hear everything that happened to him, all these rumors, whatever. So then he says, talking about the drugs or whatever, they start talking about drugs. And Tariq makes this really like good point about illegal drugs versus legal drugs. And like white accepted legal drugs are killing more people than the illegal drugs that are supposedly in the Black and brown communities. But why is that socially accepted? Why is it not a crime for the opioid epidemic that's happening in these communities? Because they're not happening in the Black and brown communities. This is a white, drug addiction problem. Okay. And so he made that point, and the guy couldn't say anything. He was just like, but to the point of just saying, like, my whole point is when you can see something is wrong, like, okay, the Ridden case, I don't know much of that case. I heard that he killed 3 people. He crossed state lines with an arm, like a big gun, a rifle, assault rifle. So you mean to tell me there's no premeditative thinking in regards to carrying this weapon? Is this a normal thing? Like, are we in the wild, wild west here where we're just carrying, AK-47s or what 49s or whatever those things are called? This is not normal. You might have the right arms to the Constitution right may be that you can carry and bear arms, depending on what state you're in. But he came across.
Black man has a cell phone in his pocket. He's getting shot down.
Exactly. Like the little boy has a toy little water gun.
Yeah.
He's killed for that. You know what I mean? So it's like, so they say, oh, well, he was defending himself. Okay. So then let's go to the man that fell asleep because he was drunk in his car in Atlanta, minding his own business in the parking lot of Wendy's. Mm-hmm. And the police officers take it upon themselves to what? Harass him. Mm-hmm. Harass him. Ask him, do you mind taking a test to test if you're drunk? He already had said 3 times that I am drunk.
Which is why I'm not driving.
That's why I'm not driving. I'm sleeping it off here in my car. And no, well, when he refused, it became a little tussle. Mm-hmm. Or he said, okay. I think he wound up giving into it and he wound up taking it. Mm-hmm. Of course he fails. Mm-hmm. He knew he was going to fail. And then the cop says, now you're under arrest. He was sleeping in his car when you approached him. So how come that's not like this, how come that is not deemed as an unjustifiable killing? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But this guy, young boy, goes across state lines. Goes across state lines. Okay, maybe people are attacking him. I don't know. But so he's defending himself and he kills people. It's the same thing with the Zimmerman case. This is the young boy walking across with his hooded sweatshirt. Now it's like become this whole thing in our community. You can't wear hooded sweatshirts. Pull that hood down. Because you just don't know. The autistic young boy who was walking with a hooded sweatshirt This is my fear as a parent. I have a child that is autistic. Now he is very high functioning, so he is low on the scale. However, when you approach him, you know, they're very nervous.
Yeah.
And that young man was nervous. And he told the cop, don't touch me. I don't like to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, you know, so much more training needs to go into this law enforcement. They, from what I understand, they take no psychology classes whatsoever. They have no idea how to deal with people. And this is the problem. This is a major, how are you getting into a community position? You're in the,
You can't tell me that with the amount of cases that go on that they're not trained that way. I'm
they're
sorry.
not.
You can't
Apparently
tell me
they say it's not part of their curriculum.
No, you can't tell me that they're not trained to behave the way that they're behaving.
Are they?
Well, like you can't tell me that they're not being told this is okay, this is acceptable.
Of course they're told it's okay. Like, you know, I was listening today to a lesson for school, and it was about how to write an argumentative essay. And one of the talks was about like a drunk man was accosted by police officers. And the one scene was the police officer was verbally abusive to the drunk man. So the drunk man, when he was trying to be arrested, was like kind of resisting. He didn't want to be arrested. And so the police officer decided to lift his arms with so much force that he dislocated the man's shoulder. Was it called for? No. You know, but why is it okay? And then so the other thing was like, oh, well, the drunk man was resisting the arrest, so that's why he had to use this kind of force.
Yeah.
You know, which is why they have in those in different, and this is why our judicial system, it really needs to just be straight across. Like we have too many crisscrossings in our judicial system that one state says, yeah, one state says you can't carry, the other one says you can carry, the federal says you can't do this, and then that's how our community, our men get put in prison because they get caught up in the loop of these.
Yeah, and then you have a majority white jury.
Yeah, and you have right, and no one is relating to.
All has the same mindset that your life doesn't matter.
Right, you know? And it's like, come on, like even I think they said on the Arbery case, the Arbery case, they were saying that the is it the prosecutor, right? Prosecutor. Mm-hmm. The prosecuting attorney, her name is Laura something, I think her name is. She was making reference to him having long, dirty toenails. What does that have to do with the case?
And that's the kind of stuff too. You know, once a person is dead, now you want to bring all of their past and use that as evidence of why their life isn't valuable, you know? And it's like, no, you committed a crime. You're the criminal, you know, regardless of what, this person is dead. You're the criminal. You killed a person, but you want to talk about why this person is a criminal and therefore deserve to be killed. You know, it's really, it's sickening, and it's been, you know, going on way too much. But yeah, it's there's no words.
There's no words.
Renee Nicole here with the But God Podcast, reminding you to head over to Amazon to purchase your But God must-haves today. Our good sis Lillian has designed the most beautiful But God journals for you to jot down your But God experiences, But God planners for you to organize your day-to-day life, and But God coloring books, because there's nothing more therapeutic than coloring in between the lines. Or outside, it's up to you. Go to Amazon.com and search But God Podcast, or visit our website, butgodpodcast.com, or click the link in our socials at But God Pod.
First of all, there's no words when I see something that OJ Simpson is commenting about this case, and he is shocked that the person got off. And I'm like, bro, everyone's shocked that you got off with your stuff. Okay? Like, come on, OJ. That's the kettle calling the, what they call that?
That's a black man with money, though.
Yeah. But, you know, it's very sad to see that, you know, that we have to have these discussions that, you know, that, and the thing that I listened today, they were pointing out the different laws. They were saying how the laws will get them off. And that's what got this kid off. The law said that it was acceptable for him to have his rifle in his, like, what? This doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But it's very scary. That's why you have to have these conversations with your boys and your girls. The other thing I think is that the education system needs to do a better job with really teaching. I mean, at home, we must teach our children to still, I know it's hard to say, and it may sound contradictory, to respect law enforcement. Because when you put up a fight with them, it works worse to you. You know, I watched a video of a kid get pulled over. Young kid got pulled over, driver's license registration given to the officer. Officer went to the back, ran the kid's ticket. Kid had a warrant. Officer came back and said, I need you to turn off the car, step out of the car. You have a warrant for your arrest. I got to bring you in. The kid put the car in drive and took off. You know, thank God the officer didn't shoot, but like another officer, trigger happy officer, would have shot, you know, and it's like, so to some part, we have to get to the place where we teach, you know, if you have
But it's
warrant.
like, what do you teach though? Because there are
But
a lot
I
of
guess,
people
you know,
who
it's like
do,
you,
who
but
do
you know,
not
you have
resist,
warrants, you know,
you
like
know?
somebody that
It's-
has warrants, they know they have warrants.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, that's that situation. But there's so many people. A lot of these people do not resist. You know, George Floyd was
No, a
on the
lot of people
ground.
don't
You know,
resist, right?
and it doesn't matter. You know, because your life doesn't matter. So it's really like there's nothing that, unfortunately, like all the protesting, all the like. There's nothing we can do to change these people, you know. There's nothing we can do to change the mindset of these people who are already in a place of authority, you know, and already have control. Only thing that we can do, you know, unfortunately, is teach our kids to not be in the wrong place at the wrong time, you know, or
No, but I
to,
think we
you
can
know,
teach them to
not
not
put your
react.
not
We
put
can
your hoodie
control
up.
our reactions. We can control our reactions. That we can control. So if an officer or someone is doing something, you know, to the best that you can.
But how many of these situations were there not people not they weren't responding in an irate way? You know, you
Well,
can't.
I
They see
understand that, but
something
we
in
don't
your
want to be
pocket, or
teaching
they
our
see
kids
your
to
hoodie,
be
or
like,
sometimes it's not even the police. You George
well,
Zimmerman, he's not no cop. You know,
correct.
these three white men that killed Ahmaud, they're not cops. You know, but they just take it upon themselves because of their privilege to act like they are, you know,
So that was because,
and
yeah.
because they know they'll get away with it. So there's nothing that we can sit here and tell our kids. A lot of these kids are good kids and aren't doing anything wrong. I'm taking a jog around the neighborhood. Like, what do I do in that situation? Unfortunately, like, you know, and that's the part that, you know, scares me in a way. It's like you can't teach your kids to live in fear, but you almost have to. You know, you
I
almost
mean,
have
you
to.
have
And
to, but
so
you have to teach them to still be respectful, period. You just can't we cannot teach our kids to react. Even though all of this bad has happened.
I don't think most people do. I don't think most people teach their
No,
kids.
I don't think they do, but a lot of the young children, the young kids these days, they are very quick to pop off, you know, and
I don't think if most kids that if they watch the news, I don't think. I
they
mean,
don't
some
watch the
people are
news.
bold. Some kids are bold, but I think most people are scared of the cops now. I think most people are afraid of the cops now. I think a
I
lot of
don't,
people
well,
are bold. A lot of people, and maybe if they have a group with them, but if a person is by themselves, the chances of them popping off to the popo is not very high because most people don't want to lose their lives, you know, and most people know that a lot of cops are trigger happy. And so I think that,
well, I
you know,
mean,
what we
yeah.
really need to do is talk about training cops on how to respect people. You know,
Well,
how about we talk about that? Let's
I
talk
think we
about
need to do a better job of doing a psychiatric exam on the police officers, because one
exactly.
thing that I read or have seen is that, you know, you get somebody that has been low self-esteem, to bullied his whole life or whatever, and then you give him a badge and a gun, and now he thinks he's like,
Yeah.
man, he could do
And
whatever
that's what
he wants.
happens so often, so
And
often.
that's the sad part, you know,
And
that's the sad
unfortunately, a
part.
lot of these cops, and you know, and some of them are even black men that act this way, you know, but
Mhm.
for whatever reason, a lot of people in these
Isn't that the
positions,
most upsetting though?
yeah,
To me,
they're
it's the most
fearful of
upsetting.
black men because of their strength and because of their
Yeah,
ability, you know, and so then they see them, and now you got a little bit of power, and you want to
right.
show, look, I'm bigger and better than you because I have a gun, and I can get away with it, you know. And
Did you
so I
see
think
on,
that that's where the training needs to go. I think that's where people need to learn
well, I
to do
think, you
that.
know, they definitely need to have human, they need human skills. They need
Hmm.
human training. They don't have that. They have how can you protect and serve and not be trained on how to protect and
Communicate.
serve
Yeah,
and
exactly.
communicate? You know what I mean? Like it's not, you're not in the military. You're not out here like, that's not shoot to kill. Like someone pulls off, or the like I was talking about the, I don't remember his name, forgive me, for the incident that fell asleep in Wendy's that time,
Hmm.
because he started to run away, they shot him. Like
Right.
you have his license, you know where
That's
he
not
lives.
a threat.
Like
Him
it's not
running
a
away is
threat.
not a
Was he
threat to your
attacking
life.
you? He
Yeah.
wasn't attacking you. Like you guys scuffled for a minute because you
Mhm.
were wrong. And that's the thing, like the officers, they don't like, I understand there. I try to see it from both sides to understand like an officer must be very stressful to,
Absolutely.
but again, to the point of, it's more of the other side that we hear the stories of, the Black and brown boys are not making it through. I
Hmm.
forgot, I watched a movie and it was about, it was 50 Cent had that show, um, that prison show that he had on ABC. It was really good.
Oh, yes.
He
The
had this
guy who
prison
lives
show,
there.
and
Yeah.
it was an inmate that became a lawyer. And
Mhm.
he had a case where it was a Black father taking his maybe 6-year-old little boy to the store. Took him to the store. And when he came in the car, the little boy had a little toy that he had when he was in the store, but he forgot it in the store. So he made a U-turn to go back. Okay, it's a illegal U-turn. It's New York. Everybody makes them. You know what I mean? Cop pulled him over. There's a white cop pulled him over. White cop decided to um, give him a hard time about it. He's explaining that, his son, sorry, forgot his toy, and he killed him in front of the little boy. It was heartbreaking,
Mhm.
and it was just to say, like, why?
Mhm.
For what reason? He wasn't resisting arrest in the whole episode. He wasn't resisting her. And, it's just like, I don't understand. I don't understand what's their
And
rationale.
it pisses me off too, because then you'll see like some white kid going off on a cop and you don't see any guns drawn. You don't see, like you see them cussing them out and like just calling them everything but a child of God. And
Right.
but they
And it's
walk
okay.
away with their life.
And
They
it's
still
okay.
have their life.
That's why,
So
like,
that's why that respect thing to me really
but
like,
I still think of,
yeah.
because of as a human thing, I'm always going to try to think, like, even with my son, he had gotten pulled over late one night in Queens. He's on his way home from work. He got out like 11 o'clock. He was driving. His car has automatic lights and the lights are always, always on. He doesn't know. So the car went into the shop. They turned off the automatic lights. And when he got the car, he didn't realize it because he drove during the day. So when he's driving at night, there are no lights on. Now, where he works is they have no lights, period, no street lights, if you could imagine. And the cop pulled him over. The cop was very kind to him because my son was extremely anxious. Like he started crying, hyperventilating, and the cop saw that it's okay.
Mhm.
And I was so grateful
Right.
that, he had a really nice cop.
Mhm.
There are not too many like that out
Yeah.
there. Because he's driving a Lexus. It's got tinted out windows, like his dad, when his dad used to drive the car, would get pulled over all the time off the strength of the Lexus having the tinted windows.
Mhm.
And they want to give him a ticket. His dad just shared a story with us the other day that him and his 4 friends were in his car. He's not driving, he's the passenger. His white friend is driving. Cop pulls them over and they had one too many drinks. Cop pulls them over and um tells my son's father, who's in the passenger seat, I want to see your license and registration. I want to see your license. And my son's father goes, I'm a passenger.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not even driving. Like, why do you need to see my registration? Like, why do you need to see my license?
Mhm.
And the cop was like, license, please. And so his friend, they were like upset, and they like one like elbowed him, like, just give him the damn license. And his father was very much like, no, this is not right. Like, I'm the passenger. When do you pull over and say passenger? license and do I have to be a licensed passenger?
Mhm.
Like, this doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
And then they got called on some kind of oh, they said that they fit the description of some robbery that just took place or something. Meanwhile, they're all in like their jerseys from a Giant game. And he's like, yeah, they walked in like this, you know. So the cops wound up getting another call and they left the scene of the crime. But the story is that, just to say, like, because everyone else in the car was white,
Mhm.
it was okay. But his father, who is not white, and he's on the light skin of the Black community, he was the one being racially profiled, you know. And it was just like, they didn't understand it. His friends didn't understand, like, what's the big deal? And he's like, it's a big deal.
It's
Like,
a
I'm the passenger. Like,
Yeah,
I
'cause they were
shouldn't
like,
have to
"Oh, he
show.
black. He's got a warrant or something we can find on him." You know, like,
Right.
let's take his license and get him arrested tonight.
Isn't that just
Yeah.
crazy?
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just so crazy. And thank God, you know, that they got called on another call, the officers, because could have went a whole other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's something, as much as we get on here and we talk about faith and all the things, it's one of the things where we're like, God, I don't know what your plan is,
I
but you
don't.
must have one, you must have one for us. And so we keep praying to see change, keep praying to see that. I just, I'm grateful for the amount of, Black people that are becoming educated and are using their voice, for good, because I feel like there's a lot of people who are like actually like coming up with plans on how they can better the community, because I feel like that's the only way to do it. Like
Yeah, they
finding
have to go
ways to
back.
like pour resources in our community
Yep.
so that we can be more educated, so
Yep.
that we can get out of those communities where we are deprived of, those resources to be able to elevate and educate. So I
So
think
that's
that's
a
the
change.
only way. Yeah,
That's a change that's
that's
happening.
the only
That's a
way.
huge change for us. I mean, look, we got the kids of Jay-Z, of like T.I., you got Snoop, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, all
Yeah.
we growing up, our parents didn't have that Black influence.
Yeah.
There weren't too many Black
Yeah.
artists really successful like that, because they were still fighting
Yeah.
into having a right to vote, to having these,
Mhm.
these rights to be
Yeah.
treated right. So it's great now that we have like our rap. We were just talking about the Hall of Fame for like Jay-Z and like LL Cool J or whatever. So it's great that we have them, but they need to continue to go back into the communities of where they came from
Yeah.
and show that they are not the abnorm. This is
Right.
normal.
They're not the exception to the
They're not the
rule.
exception, right? They are, this can happen for you.
Yeah.
And I hate rap music these days because it's just so stupid to me.
Well,
But
it's
I love
great
my
that
hip hop.
they're business moguls, and now
They're different rap.
we're seeing that there's an outside of rap
Correct.
and sports. We're
Correct.
seeing that if you don't have those two skills, that there are other ways for you to get out of your situation. And I think that's one of the pros of social media, is that now that's being highlighted, like the philanthropic work that
Yes.
Beyonce does, or like the business endeavors that Ariana is doing, like all
Mhm.
these ways. And of course they got their limelight through music, but even outside of that, we're seeing so many successful people in the community who come from humble beginnings, that are showing us that there is a route out, and if you take the time to learn skills and take the time
Exactly.
to educate yourself on that way out, you can get out. And there, is a certain privilege that comes with wealth,
Yeah.
so um
And a
those,
responsibility, though, is a
yeah,
responsibility that they
I'm
have
just
to
saying,
really be speaking back to the
yeah,
community.
I'm just saying though, even though, because Gabrielle Union talks about it with her son, with Dwayne Wade's sons,
Yeah.
and how they still have fear because not everyone knows who they are, but
Right.
the privilege of a Dwayne Wade or a LeBron James, where I could get pulled over, but because of my name, I might not get that gun pulled out on me, and so
Correct.
there's that privilege that comes with that wealth, that when you get a little more resources, you can sleep a little bit better at night knowing that I'm gonna make it home, where not everyone has that privilege, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want more of us to see that there is another way, that there is another way to um, gain the skills and the resources that we need to outsmart these people, and to show that you're not going to defeat me, because they would very much love for us to be defeated, and for a long time many people were, but I think that
But that's the
there's a
thing,
new
right?
generation that's arising that's saying, no, we're not, we're smart, and
Mhm.
we're too smart to run for your gains.
Right.
And yeah, and we're going to teach the next generation to be even better than we are.
And
So
they are. And they are. There's so much that we see, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's like this big right now, but
mhm.
light is light.
Yeah,
Light
light
is
is
light,
light, light is
and
light. And
we got to keep praying and just believing that God is the one that holds the hearts of man.
mm,
Scripture says that he is the one that holds the heart of kings and he can turn it however he wants,
mhm,
and so let us not lose faith in God and his abilities and what he can do,
mhm,
and just keep pushing. And that's why you got to vote. You
yeah,
got to vote, you got to vote, you got to vote. And especially these local elections are way more important than that presidential one,
right.
because they're the ones that sets the stage for who gets in that White House.
Mhm,
So it's really important. If you can vote, vote. People died to have this privilege, and we need to exercise that privilege and give back to our community. And we got to stop hating on each other.
that's the one thing, man. I finally caught up on Queen Sugar, and I love what Ralph Angel is doing about bringing everybody
Yes,
together.
the
Like,
co-op.
that's the one thing that minorities are missing, where, you know, especially in the Black community. Like,
Yeah.
there's so
Hey,
much division. There's so much division between Black men and Black women. There's so much
light skin, dark
division
skin, right?
between colorism
Yeah.
and community, what area you're from.
Yep.
That's gotta die. That's
Right.
gotta die. Like, when we come together, there's so much more that we can accomplish. And that's the only way we're going to overcome this thing is
That's right.
together, and putting our resources together. So I just encourage, to like find ways that you can help in your local community. Find ways, just mentor somebody if you can, or, speak life into a young woman or a young man and tell them that they're valuable, tell them that their life matters, because they don't see that on TV.
Or listen to
Um,
someone's story. Everyone has a story.
and encourage
Listen,
them.
listen to their story. Get to know the person. This is the thing I love about documentaries and why I've been so obsessed with like reading different stories like Alicia Keys, Angie Martinez, Kanye, listen to the person, because what the media will put out to you to see is somebody so different. But like,
Mhm.
get to know someone. If you don't, like, I think in my church in Grace they did for Black History Month, they said like, oh no, for Juneteenth they really were saying for if you're white, like to go and celebrate Juneteenth, like go to your Black friends and say like you want to come and learn about this holiday and what it means, because you don't know about it because we weren't taught this in school, you know and just because when you hear someone's story, you're able to connect and relate with them,
Mhm.
and I think that's when you start to realize like, I see you.
Because the unfortunate thing is we weren't taught either. We were
No,
we were brought up in these schools that were
no, we
curriculum
weren't.
created by white people,
Yeah,
so we are one of the groups, of people who we don't know our
don't know.
history. We
Right.
were dragged into this country. And so it's like sometimes you might go ask a Black person, they're like, I don't know. I just
I don't
found out
know.
about Juneteenth last year too.
Right, right.
So,
But just try to connect with people and
yeah.
hear their stories and just learn from because I think when you hear someone's story, then you're able to see like, oh,
Mhm.
really, like we were talking before about the projects, right? Like this the Black and brown in the projects. but like to my point is, them trailer parks is filled with those, white people. They have it rough. You see that, you see Eminem's movie. We were talking about that 8 Mile movie, and just the way he was brought up and how he was raised, similar hard times, but we don't hear so much about it because they're not oppressed.
Right. Exactly.
Because they're still white.
They're still privileged.
You know what I mean? But they do get their noses. Look, some noses.
Yeah, there's a lower and upper class in everyone.
Correct, but it's not. When it comes down to it, what side is, they go on that side. And so I would just love us as a people to just learn to embrace one another, and in our communities to really be celebrating each other, and just helping, being what the scripture says, am I my brother's keeper? Like, be your brother's keeper. Stop trying to step over them so you can get up. Everybody can get up. Everybody can get up. Stop trying to step on the next person so you could get up, because someone's going to step on you, and it's like, if we could just help each other out, the more, the better, like the pinky, I can't hit you with this pinky. It ain't going to hurt. But if I take my pinky, my ring, and my middle, and I make a nice fist, it's very powerful. And that's what we need to do as a people. We need to come together to be powerful as a fist rather than a pinky. Because if I got slapped with this pinky, it's like, does nothing.
Yeah.
So that's all we have to say for
this
week on our podcast. I know we were definitely off on tangents on things. We don't necessarily talk about these kinds of things, but they are important and they need to be spoken about. And we know that God is in the midst of everything.
Everything.
And we hope that you guys would have conversations within your community, give support where you need to give support. Start at home, start in your own backyard, your neighbor.
And don't let anything or anyone steal your joy, because it's very easy to be devastated, it's devastating news, but that's where the enemy, he likes to creep in, by stealing our joy, by stealing our mindset, by feeling that, hatred and spewing it out, and spewing out more hatred. And that's not what you were created to do. You're bigger, you're better than that. God is love. So be that, be love,
Exactly.
And that's on that.
Be love.
I'm Renee Nicole.
And I'm Lillian.
Have an amazing week. Thank you for listening to the Buckeye Podcast.
Ciao.